Drucker with My Religion is Kindness. And I thought that our guest speaker, our guest music today with Lisa Beck Crawford, she does often a Sunday gospel brunch. And I know she grew up in a gospel family or singing gospel music. So I thought she might like that little peppy. Yeah. So welcome this morning to Unity of the Hill Country in Kerrville, Texas. We're coming to you live via Zoom and Facebook. And we're so happy for those of you who are able to join us this morning at 11 on Sunday. And also for those of you who tune in later on Facebook or YouTube or our website where we post the recordings. And we're glad that you're able to join us whenever it's available and whenever it works for you. We hold you in our heart and we appreciate you so much. So let's just take a moment and begin in prayer. Close our eyes together and take a deep breath in. And just slowly release that breath. Together we open our minds and our hearts in gratitude. We're totally present to this moment and we're so grateful. We're so grateful for all there is in this world, for this ability to come together and to have so many options, to be able to come together live on this moment, come together later at the convenience, working around all the other things going on in our life. We're just grateful to continue to connect as a community and also to invite in new friends on the internet out there in the World Wide Web. We're so grateful for this beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning, for the holiday that we've spent either in isolation or with friends and family, observing all the guidelines. We're just filled with appreciation. Every cell in our body simply says, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen. There we go. Our opening statement at Unity of the Hill Country, and many, I would say, Unity centers throughout the country and around the world, because we are a worldwide organization, often use this statement, which is also our first of our 5 Unity principles. There's only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe: God, the good, the omnipotent. And we know that wonderful power of God and goodness in our life every day. And as long as we affirm it and we continue to have gratitude and appreciation, it grows and grows in our ability to be aware of all the ways in which we are blessed, expands moment by moment. We just have a few quick announcements. This week, those of you who have registered up until today, when you've come in on the Zoom meeting, not people from Facebook unless you've been on Zoom. So we got the mailing list for the survey from Zoom from people who registered, which were about 65 people over the period of time that we've been doing these live broadcasts. We sent a survey out this week. We'd love to get your feedback. And so we had a few questions. I think it was only 10. And we have about, 15 or 16 responses back. So I wanted to say a big thank you to those of you who had taken the moment to respond, and to invite the rest of you to, if you pre-registered before today, to go and look for an email from minister@unityhillcountry.org. It takes you to a SurveyMonkey site, which is a platform to take survey information where they process it and put it together. And if you haven't been on the Zoom, but you would like to give your feedback, if you're watching on Facebook or you're later watching from YouTube or our website, which of course links to YouTube, just call the office at 830-896-7575 and let Mandy know you'd like to give your feedback. She can give you the questions, or we can email it out to you. However you like, she can take down your answers or send you a survey. But we'd like your feedback. If you've participated online, we'd just like to know what your thoughts are about what we can do. Now, if you've been with us this whole time, you know, we've been on a learning curve, and we've had a lot of opportunities for learning new ways that things can go sideways on a live broadcast on Sunday morning. And we're not editing. So what you see later has not been edited. It's not been, polished up. My niece said it makes us more endearing to show our mistakes. I hope that's true. And I hope that you have patience and love for us and send us prayers and blessings that each week just gets better. And I think last week was pretty smooth using a video again. We hadn't done that in a while because it kind of threw us off. But have patience with us, but do give us your feedback. We're certainly limited with our audio-visual support, but we will do everything we can to make this event, the Sunday morning experience, something that's more and more enjoyable for you and gives you an opportunity to feel connected with our community. That's the whole point, is to feel connected and to know that we're here together, even though physically we can't be together, that there's all the love and all the connection still available for you, and we love you. Tuesdays, Patsy Sherman continues to host her Lost Christianities. I appreciate her so much. That's a great way to get together and connect. This dust in the air is getting to me. Also, I mentioned before, and I'll just keep mentioning, that we have recordings on Facebook and on YouTube and our website if you want to catch up with talks or some of the courses that we were doing for a while. We'll be offering a new course probably not until August, and we'll also be offering a membership class, so watch for that and let Mandy know if you're interested in joining the membership class. So I want to tell you quickly, most of you who've been joining us you're familiar with Lisa Beck Crawford. She and Art were with us a couple of months back, and Lisa's been with us when we had our songwriter showcase. She and Art both, separately and together, have participated in that. And they're both extremely talented musicians, singers, and songwriters. And together, Lisa has a background in gospel and a variety of types of country and traditional country and new country. But she didn't start singing until later in life. And Art has been, together they won awards. I think, let's see, the Texas Music Academy and 2009, 2011, 2012. Lisa's local. She's from over in Bandera, but of course, and she has come to be with us face to face, which is wonderful to be in her presence. But today we have her online, and we appreciate her being with us, and you'll enjoy her music, and at the end you can give her a warm welcome. But we really appreciate Lisa being with us today. So let's just take a moment and hold in prayer all of the things that are on the hearts and minds of our community and our world today. You can submit prayer requests. This traditionally you can come to the building and submit them into this cute little box here. And then we pray over them locally, and then they go to Silent Unity, where they're prayed over for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's been going on for over 130 years. So if you need to submit a prayer request online, you can go to unity.org, or you can do it at our website at unityhillcountry.org, or you can call one of the numbers here on the screen. But if you haven't had a chance to form your prayer request or put it on paper or to call it in, I encourage you right now just to bring something to mind and take a moment and just send it forth. And we'll wrap it into this prayer as we pray together. Let's close our eyes and just take a deep breath in and slowly release. Being present in this moment with this consciousness of prayer, knowing that all prayers are met with the same resounding yes, yes, yes. We know it is the consciousness from which we pray that determines the outcome. So in this moment, we follow the example of our way shower, Jesus, and we claim in this moment, it is done. It is done for each and every request. It doesn't matter. There's no degree of prayer. There's nothing too small or too great. That absolute good, that infinite power and source of love in our world that we know as God. For this truth and so much more, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen. The mission and vision statement, I'd like to remind us every week, because it was developed from within our own community. 25 people came together and pulled these ideas together from our aspirations of who we are and who we want to become and how we want to be in the world. To live consciously, celebrating the divine potential in all. And divine potential means we know and we understand truth. And we know that regardless of circumstances, there's always the divine present. There's always God in every moment. And we just appreciate that. We know that's true. And we express our gratitude for this truth. Our daily word reader today is again going to be Mandy Scott. And I appreciate her willingness to continue to step up and to be present. Mandy?
Thanks, Beverly. Good morning, everybody. Today's daily word is comfort. Christ in me is my comfort. Experiences that move me out of my comfort zone are part of my life. The first day at a new school, starting or leaving a job, a new phase in a relationship, retiring from a career, the passing of a loved one, any change can evoke discomfort, even grief. I grieve when I think of change as loss of security, loss of my place in my community, or loss of love. The Christ, the divine presence of my life, love, and wisdom within me is my constant source of comfort through all of its life's changes. I find assurance that although its physical expressions may change, life can never end. I know oneness and love with all who have been dear to me. Recognizing my divine nature, I know there is no loss, change, or circumstance that can limit me, and I am comforted. You will increase my honor and comfort me once again. Psalm 71:21.
Thank you, Mandy. That was well done. Thank you so much. And you know that as she read that, we're reading along with people all across the world that read the daily word every single day. And our Christ candle is always lit and exemplifying that Christ nature within us all. So now we will have some special music by our special guest, Lisa Beck. Oh, that says back. Sorry, that's my typo. Lisa Beck Crawford.
That's okay. Thank you so much for having me again. It's wonderful to be here with you guys. I always enjoy it, playing for y'all. This song kind of came back to my mind just in this time of self-reflection and, being home so much. So this is one that I wrote not that long ago, actually. It was probably a year ago or so, but it's called Shine. It's not called Shine a Light. It's called I See a Light. I'm a little bit broken. I'm a little bit scarred. My heart is open, but a little bit hard. This road I've traveled is dank and dark. It's rough and rocky and a little bit marred. But I see a light shining down on me. I see a light that won't let me be. I see a light, so I make my way. I see a light. Is it the light of day? I'm a little bit jagged. I'm a little bit frayed. I'm a thinking now, boys. I'm a little bit straight. I'm a little bit crooked. Running in a straight line. I'm a little bit ragged. Running out of time. But I see a light shining down on me. I see a light, won't let me be. I see a light, so I make my way. I see a light, it's the light of day. I'm a little bit busted, now I'm a little bit scared. Now I'm wondering now, girls, if I should have dared. 'Cause there's a train coming down a one-way track. No sense in running, no turning back. But I see the light shining down on me. And I see the light come to set me free. I see the light, the truth and the way. I see the light of Jesus' face. Thank you.
Oh, so you couldn't hear me. I was saying that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yes, thank you.
Let's see, and I'm switching back over to the slide. And I corrected the spelling.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just take that sweetness of that song. I see the light. And move into our time of meditation. Together, let's close our eyes and just take a deep breath in and slowly release that breath. And together, let's take another deep breath in, and at the top of that breath, just hold a little pause, and then slowly and intentionally let the breath just flow out. Our breath connects us mind, body, and spirit. And it connects us one with another. In this moment, we join in our intention, in our spirit, in our consciousness of love, peace, and joy. Just bring your attention to your breath. Focusing your attention on that little gap in between the inhale and the exhale. Inward breath energizes the body. And the slow, even outward breath relaxes us. As we relax, we become present. We drop into the present moment In the present moment, we're aware of that light. We see that light, the very Christ nature present in each and every one of us. We see it for ourselves, we feel it in our heart, and we know it for others. Allowing that light of the Christ consciousness to permeate every cell in our body, energizing, enlivening, and healing. Simply repose in yourself in a moment of silence. In the silence, our awareness is heightened of that light, that Christ light within. And as we become aware and we allow ourselves to express that light, we allow others to see that light within themselves. And we see it along with them. From the silence, we take a deep breath in, and we bring our attention back to this moment and this time. We bring back with us that truth of the light within, the light in every moment, in every person, place, and thing. And for this and so much more, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen. So, of course, we've been talking about freedom. We started last week a little bit talking about, well, we've been talking about compassion. But I did put on this mask at the end of last week, and I know you can still hear me because I made a video the other day with it on, encouraging everyone to be conscientious and to wear their mask this weekend. Don't worry, I'm not going to do the whole talk, but the red, white, and blue represents to us freedom. But for what are we free? What's the point of freedom? What's the point of putting such an emphasis on freedom in our lives? I don't know about you, but the American flag evokes within me a tremendous emotion, a feeling of pride, of love, of connectedness, of identity. And we celebrate this freedom. And we also know that freedom is a great responsibility. Freedom means different things to different people. But I hope and I pray that with you, probably the people who are on this call have observed their social distance over this weekend and worn their mask when they need to get out and wash their hands or worn gloves and followed the guidelines that are there for our own protection. But we have the freedom as Americans to observe or not to observe. It's our choice. Even when there is an order, which we know that that's been put in place right now because of the surge of the virus, it's still our choice as Americans whether or not we follow the guidelines. In Galatians 5:12, Galatians is a chapter where Paul, one of the disciples, is speaking to this community. And he says, "For you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for self-indulgence, but through love become slaves to one another. For the whole law is summed up in a single commandment. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." If you'll remember, whenever Jesus, in those last days, he was being challenged by the Pharisees and they were coming to him and saying, what's the greatest commandment? Of course, he said the greatest commandment is to love the Lord, your God, with all your heart and your mind and your soul. But the second of these is to love your neighbor as yourself. To love your neighbor as yourself. That's what I look at all of these guidelines as being. It's not about, I have the right. Yes, of course you have the right to not wear a face mask or to do whatever it is that you want to do. We all have rights. And we have the freedom to choose. And for me, it's important to choose love. To choose love for myself and to choose love for those around me. Even if I don't know who they are, even if they're just my neighbors, maybe I know my neighbors, or maybe they're just the neighbors standing next to me in the grocery store. But it's important that you should love your neighbor as yourself. And I know for sometimes it's hard because maybe we don't have the greatest love for ourselves. And maybe that's why we don't necessarily feel that love and compassion for our neighbors. But it's a choice, and we can choose to make that a priority in our life, to be love in this world. Freedom has many definitions to many people, but according to the dictionary, it's the power and the right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. And I know that's where a lot of people come from when they're saying, well, I'm not going to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't have to wear a mask. And I get that. I'm a little rebellious too. I don't like people to tell me what to do. And if I take this commandment and I want to follow the way shower Jesus to love my neighbor as myself, I have to kind of weigh which is greater to me, which is more important to me, to love my neighbor as myself, which wearing the mask is for the neighbor. It's not for me. It's not going to protect me against your germs. It's going to protect you from my germs, should I have any. And there's no way to know if I have germs or not. That's my biggest fear right now, is that I would be unconscious of being a transporter of the virus. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to be responsible for someone else becoming ill and potentially having, even if they don't die, who knows what the medical conditions might be. Or it's the absence of subjection to foreign domination or despotic government, which is tyranny. Freedom means we're not under the control of another, for sure. So we're so blessed to be in the United States of America. We're so blessed to have so much freedom and so much intention and individualism. And with that comes responsibility. Anytime you are given so much privilege and so much power, there's responsibility with it. It's not to be self-indulgent or self-serving, as said in Galatians, or the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. And of course, we can enslave ourselves with our own thoughts. We can create so much fear around us or so much animosity or anger. We imprison ourselves. No one else has to do it for us. I like this quote from the Dalai Lama. So he has his own website, dalailama.com. And this was an article he had written on human rights, democracy, and freedom. And he says, whether we are concerned with suffering born of poverty, with denial of freedom, with armed conflict, or with a reckless attitude to the natural environment everywhere, we should not view this event in isolation. So whatever it is that you're looking at, don't look at it as this one single event, to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. Eventually, the repercussions are felt by all of us. We, therefore, need effective international action to address these global issues from the perspective of the oneness of humanity and from a profound understanding of the deeply interconnected nature of today's world. Now, I know that globally there is a lot of nationalism, a lot of points of view about, going back to, us against them and protecting the national interest. And you can do both. My teacher, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, in an interview I did with him one time, I asked him about the push towards nationalism, and he said, by all means, be a nationalist. Love your country for sure, but not to the exclusion of the whole world, not to the exclusion of the rest of the world, because the fact is, we live in a world in many ways without boundaries, in many ways without borders. We live in a world of awareness of others to the degree that we can't put our head in the sand any longer. Everything we do affects the rest of the world. So in the idea of this pandemic, not wearing a mask in our individual choice, yes, you have the freedom not to do that, but in the way that you can have a ripple effect. And I think this contagion is really teaching us that we are really not separate from anyone. And we don't really know in all the ways that we affect others around us. Yeah, the virus is symbolic of the contagion effect, but the contagion effect comes from our consciousness, our thoughts, our words. We've talked many times about the ripple effect. It's more than that. It's more than just this moment or this virus or this pandemic. It is bigger in consciousness, and we are a part of it. We affect it. You can't isolate yourself from it. It's not a thing separate from you. Whether you have been exposed or a family member or you have anyone affected, it's still not separate from you. I've had family members affected, so it's real to me. Luckily, they were the younger family members, so they've gotten over it. But they have no way of knowing whether or not there's some long-term damage to their lungs, or if the mutation of it is going to create some other kind of issue. So it's something to really not to be in fear of, to respect the facts of, and to take our own personal responsibility. So the wearing of the mask, I love that people are getting very creative. And there's so many different ways to express your freedom while wearing a mask. You can express it by decorating your mask, or I like this guy down here who's got, the filters and everything. I mean, he's ready for a full-on, gas attack or whatever, I don't know. But just take into consideration all the ways that you can still be yourself You can still have your own beliefs and your own thoughts about what's going on, and you can still respect that you have the freedom to choose to wear a mask or not wear a mask. Obviously, my opinion is wear a mask. That's what we're being advised to do for the health and the greater good. It's not, to me, it is not a political statement one way or the other. It's just something that is responsible and conscientious. Even the people, this is an interesting thing that they've done a lot of research now on the people that were getting together for the Black Lives Matters protest, and there's less of the contagion going on in this environment. Did they all wear a mask? No, some didn't. But the research has shown mainly because they were outside. So if you feel that you need to get together with friends or whatever, I know it's hard. It's hard to be on your own. It's hard to be separated from people you love and you want to make eye contact. And sometimes through the screen, it's just not enough. But if you do it outside. Do it outside and honor the situation that we're in. I know you want to rebel against it. I do too. It's just, we're all frustrated. But the fact is, if you visit with someone outside, your chances of a contagion being affected is much lower. I don't think we have exactly the statistics on it yet. And if you can wear a mask and be outside, it's even better, especially for the people that you're with. So we hear a lot about the Constitution of the United States of America these days, especially around the 4th of July, but also because of the pandemic and the steps that states and even national government is having to take in order to try to encourage people to make these choices that are for the greater good. The First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, which we're a part of that, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. And there's a lot of petitioning of the government going on right now in a lot of different ways. And I would suggest, rather than not wearing a mask, have your own petition to the government. Start your own protest about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, but wear a mask while you're doing it. There are just so many ways to express ourselves and to honor the situation that we're in. And I think that freedom is so important. And we know that, and that's why we celebrate on the 4th of July every year. And it's important to love your neighbor as yourself. So if you're putting your neighbor first, if you're loving your neighbor as yourself, wearing a mask is simply about loving them enough not to give them your germs. Whether or not you have something to share virus-wise or not, you don't have any way of knowing, because that's the crazy thing with the non-symptomatic carriers. So it's just a way to be present and to give love and to share love. And these peaceful protests have changed the world. This was from the suffragette movement for giving women the right to vote. Can you believe it really wasn't that long ago that women didn't have the right to vote? And I could give you a whole slideshow of different ways that public protests have allowed us to change our world for the better. And that's what's happening right now. Our world is being changed for the better. And it's still to be seen exactly what this pandemic will unfold for us. But it will be better. Many things will have an outcome that will surprise us. So what kind of freedom do you want? Do you want freedom from control or oppression or worry or stress, negativity, frustration, toxic emotions? Claim it. Claim your freedom from whatever it is that's bothering you. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Viktor Frankl. He was an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist who was for many years in concentration camps. He was in Auschwitz and I think about 3 or 4 other ones. And he's written a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And one of the quotes, it's an amazing book. At one of the quotes, there's so many quotes that can be used from his book. But he talks about the freedom coming from within. He says, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing. The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So if you're frustrated with things that are going on right now, I am right there with you. Nobody would choose the situation we're in, but what we do have the power to choose is how we look at it. What are our expectations? Are we looking for the good that can come out of it? Or are we getting hung up on little details, like putting a little piece of cloth over your face? To me, that's a little detail. That's my personal opinion. It's a little detail. Set it aside and choose how you're going to feel. Set the expectation of wonder and awe of all the various ways that amazing and positive things are going to come out of this. Because if Viktor Frankl can live in a concentration camp knowing he could be taken to the gas chamber every single day, anytime, and he can come out of it knowing he chose how he looked at the situation he was in, we can do the same. You can do it, I can do it. That's the power that we have. That's the freedom that we've been given. The freedom of choice, the freedom to choose love, to love our neighbors. So your weekly practice this week is to choose freedom. Choose how you want to see the world. Choose the perspective. When you get up in the morning, make that choice. Contemplate. Give yourself some time to sit and to allow that light that Lisa was singing about to come forth within you, to guide you. Find appreciation in every moment and celebrate the good. Celebrate, 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 celebrate. The more we focus on appreciation and celebration, as opposed to those other emotions that we want to be free from, the more we find to celebrate and to appreciate. And share your experiences with others. Let people know what you're appreciating today. Let people know that you appreciate and you love them. Share that good that comes from that Christ nature, that light within you. As you share, others will share. The amplification will be transformative. Thank you. And of course, always, you can send me an email at minister@unityhillcountry.org and let me know how you're doing with choosing your freedoms. Thank you. And more music from Lisa Beck Crawford. I'm so excited to hear what she has for us.
All right. Well, I think this kind of fits in with what you were saying. This is a song I wrote quite a while back. It's called Come On Home. Oh, my sister, how I long to see you free. Lay your chains down. Take a stand and stand by me. Hang your heartaches on the branches of life's tree. Come on home, dear sister, come on home. Come on home, dear sister, come on home. Oh, my brother, how I long to see your face. Been so long now, you've been living with that hate. Lay those guns down. Come and take your rightful place. Come on home, dear brother, come on home. Come on home, dear brother, come on home. Come on home and find your freedom. Come on home and find your peace. Come on home and find forgiveness. Come on home, find all you need. Oh, my country, God's children. Let's find a way to forgive, come together. Make sure love is where we live. We'll find our hearts home in the legacy we give. Come on home, all God's children. Come on home. Come on home, all God's children. Come on home. Come on home and find your freedom. Come on home and find your peace. Come on home and find forgiveness. Come on home, find all you need. Come on home to the Father. Come on home to the Son. Come on home, live in the Spirit, where we all will be as one. Come on home, all God's children. Come on home.
Thank you, Lisa. That was so perfect. I love that song.
You.
Beautifully written and performed by Lisa Beck Crawford.
Thank
So
you.
glad to have you with us again today.
It was such a pleasure. I really appreciate you inviting me.
Glad that you were available. So this is the, thanks. So this is the opportunity to give. And I just want to remind you that you can give online at unityhillcountry.org, or many of you have been continuing to mail in your tithes and offerings or dropping them by the building. And we just want to say thank you so much. But at this moment, let's just bless it together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I send it forth with my blessings and my love. We're so grateful for all of you out there who continue to support us, and we know that we will be back together and we'll be able to hug, and or who knows what will evolve to. We'll fist bump or elbow bump or whatever. But let's just right now focus on our prayer protection by James Dillett Freeman. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Thank you all for being with us. We'll see you next week. Invite your friends if you'd like to. And Mandy, if you now want to put us on galley view so we can see everyone. Hello, everyone. It's the community greeting time without hugs. Hi, Danny. And
Hi.
Jack and Jane. And Kara and Dave and Mandy. Mark and Gayleen.
Hello. Hello.
Hetty. Hi, Hetty.
Hello. Hetty.
Hello.
Judy
Hi,
Johnson here. Hi.
Oh, hi, Judy. I'm so glad that you were able to join us.
Yes, I finally figured it out.
Good. Yay. And if anybody else needs any assistance figuring it out, just call the office and we'll get you set up with Mark. Scott has offered to help people, and I know that Josh has helped some folks get set up. So we have support for you to get set up. There's Danny. We can see him now.
Cutting it out.
And somebody we can't see at 210. Hello.
Yep, not me.
Hello, Danny.
Thank you,
All right.
Lisa.
Oh, thank you for hanging out and listening. I appreciate it. And I enjoyed the talk today too, very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, folks, stay in touch with one another. Stay in touch with us at the office, or most of you have my cell phone number, I think. So let's stay connected as a community. I love you. Namaste.
We
Namaste.
love you.
Namaste. Namaste. Bye. Thank you, Lisa.